Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to discuss some ways that you can keep your dynasty more realistic throughout your playthrough. As we all know, EA games have some cheesy features, plays, and mechanics, and if you are like me, I am sure most of you would like to avoid these or find ways to eliminate them altogether. From recruiting limitations to play calling, I will discuss all my ideas of how to maintain that extra bit of realism. If you all have any ideas not mentioned here, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear them, and with that, let's get into it. The first place I always like to start after I create my coach is to recruit players in a realistic fashion. The best and simplest way I have found to have a better realistic build up of talent is to look at your team prestige and add 2 stars to that value. So in this example, we are playing as New Mexico, who is a 1-star school, so I will only be able to recruit 3-star talent. And as I progress, I only allow myself to get 4 and 5-star players for my pipelines at 2 and 3-star prestige schools. Once I hit that 4-star prestige rating, I recruit freely, but I still advise you all to only use the recommended tabs regardless of your prestige. For a little extra added flair, I like to throw in a few 2-star players as pseudo walk-ons per class, but never more than 3. This adds a little bit more risk and reward for playing physical ball in the regular season, and can really hinder you if you rack up a ton of injuries in key areas. So after you all set up your recruiting board, I always like to envision my coach as a guru of some sort. Some of the most notable gurus are Nick Saban for the defensive side of the ball and Lincoln Riley for quarterbacks in the offense or pass game more specifically. So keeping this in mind, I limit myself on the level of the abilities I can get in my coaching tree. For example, if I'm playing as a ground and pound run game coach, I would limit myself to level 3 in any category for quarterbacks and wide receivers, but max out running backs and linemen in the category that I chose at the start of the game. And on the other side of the ball, I would limit myself to 2 tiers per ability. This really adds a layer of min-maxing to the game that makes your coordinator hires all that more important. Sticking with the coaching abilities, another house rule I implement is to spread the coaching points around the ability tree as much as possible. While I try to stay within my branch for as long as possible, I do spread the points all over the basic 3 abilities. This adds more strategy to the game and doesn't allow you to max out recruiting or tactician by level 15 and have nothing else to show for it. All the coaches excel in one thing, but they wouldn't be a head coach if they couldn't do all the things well, and that is what I try to replicate with this rule. My general rule of thumb is to spend 60 to 70 points in the initial tree and then move around every 20 to 30 points after that. Sticking with things you can cover in the preseason, I like to make sure my schedule resembles real life schedules. If I'm a G5 school, I rarely if ever play an FCS team and instead schedule 1 to 2 Power 5 schools as paid away games. Or on the flip side, if I'm a P5 school, I schedule a FCS team yearly and one other P5 opponent to boost my resume for a hopeful playoff bid. Another addition to this is to schedule home and homes with a program rather than just playing random teams every season. Obviously this will change year to year, but this adds some great depth when you lose on the road and try to get that revenge in the next season at home. Before we get into the second half of the video, if you are enjoying the video or think you may use these house rules in your next dynasty, hit that like and sub button below. If you are subscribed, just go ahead and double check to make that sure that you are after the video. Sometimes the YouTube algorithm does such a good job you don't even notice you're not subscribed. This is a completely free way to support the channel and I would be greatly appreciative. But with that out of the way, let's get back to it. Moving on to some player management, one of the best ways to improve players is to give them an extra year to develop. That is fine and all, but if the player is projected starter or a top backup, then I recommend not redshirting them. The game may auto do this if they don't play the 5-game minimum, so keep that in mind. This will help with the overall and team balancing since you won't be able to redshirt that 5-star wide receiver with a 97 speed and max him out in a year or 2. Another player management rule I implement is to rarely persuade a player transferring and to never persuade a guy to stay who is going to be drafted in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft. This is my personal preference since I would like a more hectic transfer portal anyways, and in today's game it is rare to see a player come back if they think they can get a high draft spot. This next one I mention in about every video on game improvement, but getting a slider set you enjoy and that makes the game feel more realistic goes a long way to improve the quality of life. I have one on my channel if you want to use that one, or you can go find one online on Operation Sports or any of the other creators on YouTube that create them. Just find one that you enjoy the most and use that one. My second to last house rule recommendation is to have realistic play calling. Most teams don't utilize a go route every play, so sticking your 99 speed wideout on one doesn't feel very realistic. Every now and then they will catch a defense sleeping, but it's better to not overuse plays. If you want a hard limit, jump into an online dynasty and set your play call limit to 3 or lower, and this will make sure you don't use or don't overuse an assortment plays throughout the game. And for this last one, this is one of my favorites and really adds some depth to each and every game. When on defense, stick to using one player per play. This player can be anyone on the defense, but don't switch around mid-play. This really shows the talent of your defense and allows for the overalls to shine through, good or bad. I have been doing this since NCAA 14 years ago, and it makes the game a completely different experience. And that will wrap it up for us today, guys. Be sure to stick around and check out any of the other videos on the channel. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next one.